Good morning. Welcome to grade 3 English class. Today's story is The Ugly Duckling. The Ugly Duckling, based on the story by Hans Christian Andersen. At last, tap tap, crackle crackle, peep peep. One by one, Mrs. Duck's eggs broke open and out struggled her little chicks. Golden and fluffy and adorable, they peeped their way like a little yellow traffic jam towards the river bank. And the word peeped means a quick look through a narrow opening. Answer the questions. What came out of Mrs. Duck's eggs? A. Cubs. B. Chicks. And the right answer is B. Chicks. Where did the chicks run to? And the answer is towards the river bank. Well done. But Mrs. Duck glanced back and saw that one egg was left unhatched. And the word glanced means take a brief look. An egg much bigger than the rest. Wait a moment, children, she said. Her neighbor took a look. That's not a duck egg. Wrong color. That there is a turkey egg, she said. Answer the questions. What was unusual about the egg? A. The egg was much darker than the rest. Or B. The egg was much bigger than the rest. And the right answer is the egg was much bigger than the rest. What to do? Leave it to get cold or sit on it a little longer just to be sure. Next day, the big egg crackled. Crackled means a short, sharp noise, and two great black feet stuck out. It does have very big feet, Mrs. Duck said to her neighbor. Told you, turkey. I said, didn't I? Didn't I? Nothing to do with you. But Mrs. Duck had stood and sat guard over the egg for so long that she felt a kind of fondness for the hulking, stuffy object that spilled out of it. The word fondness means liking for someone. Hulking means very large, and scruffy means dirty. Put that in the river and it will drown like a brick, said her neighbor. That's a turkey, is that? Question number 1. What came out of the crackled egg? Option A, option B, and the right answer is option A. What did Mrs. Duck's neighbor suggest? She suggested to put that object in the river and it will drown like a brick. But it did not sink. Oh, the ugly duckling, and it had a face only its mother could love. Took to swimming like a duck to water. Dipping his head below the water, he tasted green weed and it tasted almost like happiness. The word dipping means put or let something down quickly. In fact, he swam even better than the other little ducklings. Oh, those pretty, fluffy, delightful, spiteful little ducklings. And the word spiteful means wanting to annoy. Ugly blurch. Why are you so ugly? Too big, big feet, big feet. His brothers and sisters peeped and pecked at the ugly duckling. tried to drive him away for fear their friends laughed at them for having such a lumpy, dumpy, frumpy brother. And the word peck means strike or bite something with the beak. What did the ugly duckling taste below the water? Option A, green weed, or option B, green fish. And the right answer is green weed. Question number 2. How did the ugly duckling's brothers and sisters behave with him? Was it politely, or rudely, or friendly? And the correct answer is rudely. It looks like a tennis ball that has been chewed by a large dog, declared the Grand Duchess, looking down her nose. Must we look at that ugly face every day? It spoils the view. And all of this the ugly duckling heard. Every birdie word, pushed and pecked and poked. He learned to keep away from the other ducks. In fact, he moved farther and farther away till he found himself walking, waddling, stumbling, wading, and swimming away and away towards the sunset. The word waddling means to walk with short steps. Stumbling is tripping or losing balance, and wading is walk with effort through water. The sun too moved away for the winter, and the fields and marshes, the lanes and winds grew colder. Ugly Duckling hid himself away on the salt marshes where the reeds rattled like feather quills and the water lay ankle deep. Salt marshes, an area of flat, wet ground covered by salt water. And reeds are tall plants that grow in shallow water, just as shown in the picture. Falling asleep one night, he did not see the ice creeping closer over the water, and he woke to find he could not move. Choose the correct statement from the story. Option A, Ugly Duckling played with his brothers and sisters. Option B, Ugly Duckling hid himself away on the salt marshes. And the right answer is B. A farmer came by and saw him, kicked the ice and broke it like eggshell, hatching Ugly Duckling a second time. The kind farmer took him home to a warm house where the children flung wide their arms in welcome. The word flung means to throw something with force. It was a terrifying sight, like a scarecrow's blowing in a gale. Scarecrow, as shown in the picture, and the word gale means a very strong wind. Gigantic creatures who ran towards him. Ugly Duckling ran too in a panic, round and round the little cottage, knocking over bowls and stools and toddlers and buckets. The farmer's wife shrieked. The children laughed. The door opened and a boot kicked Ugly Duckling out into winter time. Question number 1. Who brought Ugly Duckling home? And the answer is a farmer. Question number 2. How did farmer's children welcome Ugly Duckling? They ran towards him. Question number 3. Why was Ugly Duckling kicked out? He ran in a panic and knocked over some stuff. Now, feather snow was falling. In fact, Ugly Duckling looked up to see what bird had shed its feathers and saw 6 swans flying overhead. The sight was so beautiful that it pierced his heart like a fish hook and drew it up into the sky. Pierce means making a hole in something. For a moment, just for a moment. He had never seen such birds before, and though they passed over in silence, he heard a kind of singing more beautiful than any lark. At last a lark sang. Ugly Duckling woke. Somehow he had waddled his weary way through winter and into warmer weather. The word waddled, walked with short steps. He would stay among the reeds even so. He had learned there was nothing waiting for him out in the wide world but kicks and unkindness. He was just too ugly to be seen by eyes, so he resolved to stay hidden from any and everyone. Still, the river called to him. His big black feet longed to push a path to flowing water, to feel the current under him like the rush of his own bloodstream. He must swim in the river one last time. And the reeds are tall plants of the grass family, and the word longed means had a strong wish. Question number 1. Who was flying ugly ducklings overhead? 6 swans or 6 parrots? And the right answer is 6 swans. What did Ugly Duckling learn? There was nothing waiting for him out in the wide world but kicks and unkindness. There on the river was a family of swans. Where to go, where to hide himself? Beauty cannot bear ugliness. So obviously, these lovely regal creatures would hate and detest him. The word detest means dislike intensely. Ugly Duckling upended himself, plunging his head deep underwater. Upended means upside down, and plunging means falling steeply. When he could hold his breath no longer, he resurfaced. The word resurfaced means he came back up to the surface and found himself under attack. The swans were rushing towards him, necks outstretched, black beaks ready to slice him in pieces. Why did Ugly Duckling want to hide himself from swans? Option A, because these lovely creatures would take him along with him. Or option B, because these lovely creatures would hate him. And the right answer is option B. Well, let them. Ugly Duckling stretched his head up high. At least he would die bravely. Little brother, princeling friend, where is your flock? Where is your skein? Where have you been hiding yourself? And their necks rubbed his, flexing, stroking, caressing him. Flexing means bending arms, and caressing is stroking gently. The swans did not hate him. From the river bank came the sound of the farmer's children. Uh-oh, they began to throw things, cake crumbs and bread crust and words. A new one, look. Oh, he's the best one, look. Yes, isn't he just the most beautiful swan who ever swam? Ugly Duckling bent his head and looked down at the sunlit water. His reflection looked back at him, a majestic swan. Majestic means having impressive beauty, white as the clouds above and plumed with happiness. In fact, that swan was more wonderfully happy than any duck has been in the whole quacking history of the rolling river. Question number 2. Why were farmers' children happy to see Ugly Duckling? Because they thought he was the most beautiful swan who ever swam. Question number 2. How did Ugly Duckling feel after meeting the swans. He was more wonderfully happy than any other duck in the whole quacking history. And the summary of the story is: a swan's egg misplaced into a duck's nest. When all of the eggs hatch, the little duck is obviously larger and different from the other ducklings, which causes all other animals to start calling him the ugly duckling. The duckling leaves his family and experiences constant hater, but he is also growing into an adult, and he soon discovers he is the most beautiful bird of all. Thank you and have a nice day.